Welcome back to the Mastering Runeterra podcast with Jae and Bae, the number one source for competitive Legends of Runeterra news and information. If you're looking for the best decks to play right now, be sure to check us out on Twitter at Master Runeterra or in our Discord. And if you want to take the next step in leveling up your game, check out our Runeterra team on Patreon, where we do weekly learning calls and one-on-one coaching. Now strap in and grab yourself some Poro snacks, because we are about to start Mastering Runeterra.
Welcome back to the Mastering Runeterra podcast with Jae and Bae. We've got a fantastic show for you today. First, though, we got to thank all of our patrons. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means the world to us. It allows us to keep putting out awesome content like this podcast and the masteringruneterra.com website and all the other awesome stuff that we have coming for you guys. So seriously, thank you so much. And if you are interested in joining our Patreon, you can find us at Mastering Runeterra over on Patreon. We've got all kinds of different, what do you call them? We've got different guides. But no, I was going to say different tiers. You can get, we do weekly learning calls. You can submit VODs to be reviewed each week. There's one-on-one coaching. There's, private parts of the Discord where we answer all the questions that come in. So if you're looking,
us and the rest of the
that's right, those guys are so freaking good.
A lot of people, they have often answered the question before I even see it.
For anyone that doesn't know, who are the Mastering Runeterra pro team? There's us.
Oh, wouldn't it be so funny if I forgot one person? Okay, so there's us. Where that's two. What am I? Henneke, Ikato, Pushby, Kever, Jay Sensational. I don't think I forgot anybody.
And technically Z Turtle.
And Z Turtle. Yeah, he comes in. He's like part of a different thing, but he comes and helps out. He's in there.
So yeah, if you've recognized a few of those names, awesome. They're kind of killers. If you haven't, they're all multiple top 32 finishers, top of the ladder, absolute crushers, and they are happy to help. And so yeah, for like the low price of about $5 a month, you get 12 hours of video of live chats that you can come be a part of. And also, you get to pick the brain of these absolute crushers. It's a fantastic resource. It feels weird talking about our own thing because I'm trying to really sell it. It's so good.
It does.
Who would believe me? But
it does. Yeah, be like, we're the shit. Come hang out because we're so cool. Yeah, but we are pretty proud of what we've been doing, not just on the Patreon, but like the website and everything. And that's what a lot of our focus has been going to the last couple of weeks, where maybe perhaps we should have been focusing on, I think there's like some tournament.
Bro, it is bad. It is bad for me. So I feel wronged this season. Okay. I asked how much LP I needed to get to. The number was 550.
Oh my God,
I went and got it. And then I chilled out and went back to work and stopped playing Runeterra. And then the number became like 620. And I was just like,
and then it went up again. I had to push up to 640.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? I was just, this last week, I was going to do some climbing. I didn't have any time. I was like, you know what? I'll give it like one shot at the end. And
if you drop whatever.
I loaded up 2 RE Kennen matches, like lost a couple that I was salty about, and then like loaded up to go on a run. I was like, okay, here we go. Let's get in it. And I just didn't even want to play. I just didn't feel like playing the deck. My heart like wasn't really in it. It was not a good time. I did end up picking up some like other decks that I was like having more fun with. It was like, yeah, let's go climb, but like they just weren't as good. I wasn't climbing fast enough. So I just journaled around and I'm like, nope, didn't make the cut again. And I'm like, man, like Jesus, every season. And then sure enough, here I am where I'm like, RE Kennen not winning quite as much as it was, mostly because of me and of my opponents getting better. And then also I put in 0 time with other decks. So I'm like, well, this will be a good seasonals for me to have some fun.
Yeah, just to have a good time. This seasonal, like, it matters, right? But like, it doesn't.
There's no worlds to qualify.
There's no worlds qualification on the line, is what we mean when we say it doesn't matter. So yeah, it's a good season to have some fun. I've been fretting the last few days, like always, about my lineup. I basically locked in Shyvana Pantheon, Lisa and Zoe, and RE Kennen, and then I ran scrims on stream the other day, And the problem with running scrims on stream is no one is ever going to bring a lineup you're good into.
They're gonna bring like a body Lee lineup.
They're gonna bring a soft counter you lineup because they don't want to lose on camera. Now sometimes they bring one that's like, oh yeah, this is a pretty favorable lineup for me, but it's never going to be like what I'm looking to beat, right? They're never going to bring
randomness,
anything like that because because then they just lose on camera and nobody wants
for
that.
The record, just randomness is what you kind of expect to some degree.
It's kind of like this seasonal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, the people running scrims against streamers and stuff are probably not your average seasonal competitor, right? They're the grinders. They're people out there looking to get it. They're putting in the practice. I was sitting there like last night, and I've been, I obsess over stats a lot around seasonal time. I just sit there and look at graphs for like an hour, like if this, then this, then this, if that. But if they bring that, then this, like, just like looking through all the numbers. And the numbers just tell me every single time that Taric Pantheon is strictly better than Shyvana Pantheon. And I don't.
You should 100% go with your own stats, though. 100%.
No, I will. I put way more faith in what I think than like what stats tell me, which is so funny because like that's such an idiot's way of doing things, not, right? But
it's really not. And I bring this up because I want the people listening to understand this. So same situation came up in Magic. Where I was picking Seth Manfield's brain. For anyone who doesn't know Magic, he's like one of the GOATs. He's one of the best of all time. And I asked them, like, how much do you put into stats? Like, how much faith or like how much stock do you put into the stats? Because the same thing exists in Magic, where there's you clump all the tournaments together and how all the decks are doing.
But even
more. There's a lot more tournaments.
More.
Yeah. And he said he doesn't really. What he does put stock into is his own stats. So how he's doing with a deck. And because, he's like he is so much better than the average person, which is what you're kind of finding from these group stats. You're finding out like, how does the average person do with Lee Sin Zoe? Well, it turns out not well. Because the deck is insanely hard to play compared to others. It's got a very high ceiling. And so, if he took those stats, it's just doing himself a disservice. And this is like the same thing here with like you looking at these stats and being like, these don't really line up with what I'm seeing. For instance, you would not look at Lee Sin Zoe stats and be like, this deck doesn't beat anything. Guess I'm not bringing it.
No.
Right?
No. But I have like, way more practice.
Exactly. So I'm saying same thing exists with decks like Shyvana or that are not quite as hard to play, but still you were playing them much better than like the average person. And because there's so many variables. Like one of the big ones I think in this example of Shyvana versus Taric is that people are just not used to playing against Taric. You like if you make a mistake and you just like, you tap out at the wrong time or you do something you shouldn't and they just rally kill you. Yeah. You're like, I've done that before. I'm like, how's this deck work again? Like when it first kind of hit the scene. And I'm like, they just like, Zenith Blade is like, Zenith Blade is really important. If you didn't know to counter Zenith Blade, like, oops, sometimes you would just die. And so that's part of it also, I think, is that the deck is a little bit new. And there's a lot of these variables where taking that group stats can be dangerous. And that's why you should use it as like a baseline and then go do your own research.
Yeah. Which is what I try to do. I also try to get my camera to focus and it never works. But come on, camera, you can do it. Oh, there we go. So yeah, because I feel that way about Shyvana versus the Taric version. Shyvana, I think, wins in the mirror. I think it's a lot stronger versus any of these mid-range decks. And then like I'm seeing like wild stat differences. Like wild. Like upwards of like 15-20% kind of stat differences between the two. And I'm like, what is going on here? But every time I play them, the Shyvana one feels better. It's less swingy. The draws feel cleaner. And I feel I have a bit more agency. Like, I don't level Pantheon as fast every single time, but like, that's okay. And I'm better with dealing with stuff that's on board. I don't just like put a big dude up and like stand behind it and hope for the best. So yeah, I'm likely to go for the Shyvana Pantheon one, but I was shaken because of one scrims. My lineup didn't do super hot. I think it went like 4-2. Which is, like good, I guess. But had some rough draws with like Shyvana Pantheon. Didn't get there. I ran into Darkness a bunch, which kind of just clapped me like every time.
Oh, really? That's So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's not good because I expect Darkness to be popular. If it's clapping that and like the Lee Sin matchup is kind of tough.
Well, Pantheon beats Darkness, but like my Pantheon draws were non-existent. It was something like draw double Dragon Chow. I think I played 3 games of Shyvana Pantheon and drew
but
one
the
dragon.
matchup's supposed to be favored.
The matchup is very good for Shyvana Pantheon. It's like 60% in my opinion. Yeah. Because you just sit there and like your dudes are big. Their darkness aren't going to get big enough fast enough. And then you just sit there and you attack everything. And they can't play Vagar because you run like 4 single combat spells. Plus Shyvana makes her own, stuff like that. So the matchup's good. But yeah, Lee Sin obviously gets taken advantage of by Darkness. That's not a fantastic matchup. And the ones I was playing against were like, they were pretty teched, right? I ran into one that was like 2 Aloof Travelers, triple Minimorph, double Vengeance. It was just like, ugh, right? So it shook me a bit. And a lot of the team's audibling. They're switching off Shyvana Pantheon and onto Thresh Aurelion Soul for a better matchup table against Spiders.
Yeah, so like now, for instance, for anyone that needs context, like have you ever been in a relationship, you were unhappy, so you bounced, and then you like had a rebound, and that didn't work out either? Well, we're still on the rebound currently.
I have played Thresh Asol. I play Thresh Asol every single season because every single season, What Am I comes and says, "Hey, Thresh Asol does all the things you want in these matchups you want." And I go, "Oh, that's sick. Let me try it." And then I lose to random stuff because I believe the deck is not good. I think the deck is an exploitive deck in nature. It's looking to take advantage of these burn decks and one other thing. So like in this season, the one other thing is like Pantheon. It runs a lot of the 6 mana removal, like Sunburst and Vengeance and stuff. But when someone shows up with just like some cobbled together crap, it just beats you.
At what point is it like, shame on us for still believing these magic beans 5 seasons later? Like, yeah, it beats everything. It does it all.
Mm-hmm. And he'll always tell you, he's like, I top 32 with it. I'm like, yeah, you top 32 with everything, dude. It like doesn't matter.
Yeah. He also bombed out of the top 64 of the Master Runeterra tournament. I think specifically that deck went 0-4.
Oh, it went 0-4. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And the deck just beats itself. Like a lot of times, the problem I was having with it is like the deck's not very synergistic. You have a lot. It's like it's Targon pile, but it's also Whale pile, and a lot of those cards like individually just suck. Right? Like Loping Telescopes, it's a good card.
It's like a bunch of hammers looking for a nail, just hoping that everything is a nail.
Yeah. And if it lines up, oh boy, it is like
home
disgusting,
run. Knock him out.
If your opponent's playing Spiders, you just like you punch him in the face. If they're playing Yordle in Arms, you laugh all the way to the bank. But if your opponent's playing like Thralls. I don't know, just like or like just random stuff, you just kind of like loot. Like I lost a Bandle Tree because Push P just beat me down because like I just didn't draw stuff. Just died eventually. I was like, this sucks. And so I really feel like I just have to trust my gut and go with like what I believe to be incredibly powerful. And I talk about this all the time, right? It's the open rounds. I'm not looking to exploit lineups. I'm looking to beat people with better decks and better play.
That's what you should be doing. My options are currently, and I kind of want people to vote on this. Tell me down in the comments.
I'm gonna let
comments
comment
decide.
Section vote.
On the one hand,
lineup.
we have Thresh Asol, which is a deck.
It is a collection of cards assembled in a manner.
On the other side, we have Thresh Viego, which is a deck that I got from Cameron Hanzo. Shout out Hanzo. But it also has 3 Shadow Assassin.
Good old Shadow Ass.
And 3 Tasty Fey Folk.
Your 2 favorite cards in Legends
If
of
you
Runeterra,
can somehow jam 3 Judgment in there, this would literally be the Jason hates it the most,
the anti-Jason
deck ever created. So this season is basically a write-off for me. I'm gonna go out there and have some fun. I'm gonna play some silly cards. I kind of like the idea of playing the Fey Folk because either I'll bomb and I'll be like, "See, I told you," or I'll do really good and I'll be like, "Got there, suckers."
I play Thresh Viego. Play Thresh Viego. It's fun.
That's what I like.
I
like. Either way, I get to play Thresh, which I'm psyched about because Thresh is one of my favorite champs of all time.
You could play Thresh Nasus.
No,
it's actually good. Okay,
keep going. Convince me. I want it to be good more than anyone on the planet, probably.
It loses to Ionia, but like it kind of just
It
beats everything
loses
else.
to
You
it's like
outscale
it just
Pantheon like
loses
super hard.
Tionia, Targon,
Well, there's
Demacia,
only two. It
you
doesn't lose
know,
to
a little
Targon.
bit to
No, it doesn't lose to Demacia. It loses to Ionia. There's only two Ionia decks in the format. One you're banning. The other one is going to see sub 20% play rate.
Okay. You're talking about AK and Lee.
Sure. AK and Lee, yeah. And then like you beat the Demacia decks because you're just like bigger. You're bigger than all of them, right? I was playing against Pantheon. I played against it twice, and I was like, oh man, Pantheon, it's gonna be really rough for me. And then I played a 10-10 Nasus on like turn 7, and I was just like, huh, this is really good. And I just threw them at my opponent's face and won games. Very small sample size, right? I played it for a YouTube video. But yeah, it went well. I was surprised. Don't bring it like I mean, if you're just gonna bring a deck that you want to bring to have fun, like you
I
could
also
bring
enjoy
Nasus. I know how
winning
much you
though.
like
And
that
so
deck.
every season I'm like,
Oh, okay.
what if we changed a couple of cards and Thresh Nasus just happens to be good now? And every time I'm like, you know, kill some people because they don't know what they're doing, and then just get bodied like 3 or 4 times in a row, and just like the obvious
Like, oh.
disparity in like power levels and stuff comes out. Give my boy Nasus Fearsome back again on the like. Come on, he's like unplayable currently. With Fearsome, like he's not going to be like, oh, the deck is back. I don't think the deck will come back, let alone be good, let alone be too good. So I feel like that's one they should put back. Kind of like Misfortune losing Overwhelm when she leveled up or whatever.
I was actually sad she got Overwhelmed again. I was like, God damn. But I hate scouts. Everyone knows that. So another thing that happened about stats, I want to bring this up, is this has been like the season conversation, and I think people are really coming around to it now. Is like Arcane and Go Hard versus Arcane and Shurima. I understand you're on the Shurima version, I'm on the Go Hard version. But basically, what we, the Mastering Runeterra Pro team, have found, maybe sans you and Pushby, is that the Go Hard version, like played correctly with the triple sign and double seedling package, stomps control.
Yeah.
Right. It stomps control built to beat Arcane. It completely
always
flips
stomps control.
I haven't lost.
I just always stomps control. Like sign in is just absurd. Yeah, on the, right? You just bury them in card advantage. What do you do? 1 for 1 me? Like you can 2 for 1 me a bunch, and I'm still like sign in is drawing you so many cards.
The big flip that was important for me is the Darkness matchup. Arcane and Go Hard is really good against that. And someone I mentioned it in my like the lineup I'm bringing to seasonals is like I'm bringing Arcane and Go Hard because I think this version is very, very good into these control decks that want to leave up Arcane. Because in these lineups, you have to think like, oh yeah, I want to play the best version against Pantheon. But if someone's bringing Pantheon, they're not letting you play Arcane, right? Like it's getting banned.
Yeah.
So I don't want the one that's better against Pantheon. I want the one that's better against aggro, and I want the one that's better against control. Because that's what's going to get left up. And for me, it'd be Go Hard no matter what. It's the one I played. It's the one I'm comfortable with. It's the one I like more. But someone in the comments said, Bae, I'm not trying to like refute you or anything, but the stats say that the Absolver version is 5% more favored against Darkness than the Go Hard version. And you seem to be under the impression that it's completely the opposite and by like a large margin. And I think I responded something along the lines of like, yeah, I do think that.
Yeah, people are just playing the Go Hard version wrong. That's literally what it comes down to. It's just more difficult to play than the Absolver version. Is my thinking anyway. I haven't put enough time, but from what you guys are telling me about the Go Hard version, that's what it seems like, right?
And like the lines when you play against Darkness and stuff in these control decks, like the way you play flips because like for the Absolver one, even if you're on the sign-in package, like you're burying them in card advantage, but you kill them the normal way. Whereas like with the Go Hard version, like you basically you kind of let a lot of your stuff die, and then you just pack their bags eventually, maybe twice, and kill them with like your concussive palm token and a sign-in and an ephemeral sign-in, right? Like it's just different. And if people haven't put in the time, I think I mentioned this. I was like, if you haven't put in the time on the Go Hard version, don't play it.
I mean, most decks.
Not worth it. Play the Absolver one.
Most decks.
What's up?
Most decks you shouldn't. Here's
most decks. Yeah. If you haven't played it, don't play it.
Let's do a little bet for next week's cast. How many times will AK be banned or not banned? Or we'll just go not banned. You know what I mean?
If I play all 9 rounds, I will get to play AK twice.
You think twice?
I will win both times. That's my bet.
Interesting. If I had to bet, there's no way I'm going under. There's no way I think you get it left up three times. Especially also like it's you and you are known for playing this deck. But some people are going to come with that, try to target AK. Here's the other thing. Like the Go Hard version and the Absolver versions, like do play like somewhat differently. It's like if you're trying to target AK, like you still got like two different kind of things. Like, are you going to be ready for Overwhelm shenanigans? Or are you going to be ready for Go Hard shenanigans? Like, no matter what, you got your work cut out for you. That said, I want to touch on this. We have both been very vocal about being like, if you try to target Ari Kennen, you are like, good luck to you, because you are going to suffer and you're going to have a hard time. I think some people will target it and will be successful.
Yes, 100%. I do not think they'll be successful against the very top players.
That could be.
But how often do you face a very top player in the open rounds? If you make it all the way, maybe
here's the thing. Maybe. Out of 1,000 people, how many do you think are top players? I got a number in my head. A range, perhaps.
30.
30. You're putting on 30 people. I was gonna say 100.
Yeah. Probably 100. There's like there's a range of people where it's like your range, I think, where it's like, oh, I know them. I played against them in open rounds. I've seen them in tournament. They top 8'd this tournament. I know them. They're a good player. But there's probably not even 30 people where I see them and I go,
that might be a problem. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And it's not where I know that, like, if I match up against Kever, I know that, like, we're both bringing, like, the tippy top right now of, like, what of play for these decks. I will not be able to flex my skill edge and beat Kever, right? Maybe I have a good game or he has a good game, but, like, it's, we're both very, very, very good on these decks, and I won't be able to go, oh, I'm just going to win here because I'm better than you. Which is how I approach a lot of the open rounds. It makes me sound like such an asshole, but, like, I know I'm a really good player. And I know I can show up with the same stuff you're showing up with, not you specifically, just people, and beat you. But there's probably 30 people in the field that I don't have that edge against to that degree.
I think that's fair. I was being somewhat generous and being like, 10% are probably like, I'm talking people that know how to play their decks really well and picked a really good lineup.
Yeah.
Because, like, for instance, I'm not even in that category because I'm just grabbing some decks and being.
Because you're telling people on comments to tell you what to play the night before.
To be fair, though, I've done this for the last two seasonals. I went 7-1 both of them and, like, was like, so close to being 8-1, or had I climbed the ladder, I would have made top 32 at seasonals. And so, like. And so, like, saying that and I was not in that, 100 people, and I was in the top, whatever, like 50 or 60 or 70. I think there's, how many people go 72 or better? It's like less than 100. So, right. I said,
I think so. Yeah.
It's like just less than 100 or around 100. So I was able to make it into the top, whatever, like 100 people. And I was not a person who came with a lineup that they had put time into or practiced or anything. So yeah, maybe 50. Think about some more. I think there'd be 50 people that, somewhere in there, ballpark, that are like, came ready, put in a bunch of time,
ready. They're prepped. They know their matchups. They put in
their bands.
Yeah. Yep.
It's freaking hard to do, man.
50 to 100
it's
people.
Hard to do. I'm not hating on anyone.
It's hard. It's so much work. Yeah, especially because, like, if I told you 2 weeks, like, if I locked in your lineup 2 weeks ago for you have to play these 3 decks, you would have found time to learn about that. But that's not how that works, right? Because you're constantly switching. The meta's changing. And so you maybe decide on your lineup like a few days before, maybe a week before.
Finding decks you enjoy playing is really tough also.
It's tough,
like I said,
that fit.
Just
right?
like, I don't know, like yesterday I loaded up Ari Kennen to climb the ladder. It had been a few weeks since I played Ari Kennen, and I was just kind of bored of it. I was just kind of over it. I'm like, I don't want to play this deck. It's like all the deck that I've played before, like so many times. I was just kind of like, I don't know. It just, like it was kind of, I didn't want it. I loaded up Viego, Viego Kindred, and I was like, oh, this is fun. We're doing some new stuff.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
go, baby.
And then you were losing.
I was like, I was going like 50-50 or whatever. And like I was enjoying it. I was having a really good time. New situations, new matchups to figure out. That was getting me going. And so, and Pantheon decks I've just never particularly enjoyed or done well with. And so finding a lineup that's like cohesive, makes sense, is good into the meta, and that you actually enjoy playing, it's tough. It's not a small ask at all. So it's not surprising that a lot of people, are like last second, like, what do I play? I don't know. Let's jam this together.
Yeah. I mean, even last night I was like considering switching. Right now I'm considering switching. I probably won't. But I
also there's not a huge incentive, right? It's like first place gets 10 grand, second place gets like 3 grand. And then it just drops off a freaking cliff. It's like the two finalists make something, and then you get some clout and stuff, but like it's not that much.
I made $10,000 for my first place, and then the other 4 times put together, I think I may have made $1,000.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, $10,000 is fantastic, but one person out of 10,000 out of 1,000 people are gonna get that, right? So like it's a little unrealistic for everyone to be like, yeah, let's go. Compared to like,
you want to win, or do really well. It's not for the money.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah, the money's cool and everything, but like, you're not grinding seasonals to try to make a buck. You could do better with.
Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, if the top 32 was making bank, like if they were splitting like $500,000 or something, if it was like some real money, it would be everyone. Yeah. Everyone would be going nuts. Yeah. People would have their lineups locked in way before. People would have played all the decks. And so like, that's kind of another,
we'd be keeping
that's another reason.
We would never play our tech on ladder, like it'd be like serious business.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be like Magic, how Magic was.
That's kind of what Worlds was like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very similar.
Yep. Which was a fantastic experience. Worlds was so cool. It was so much fun. Okay.
Announcement's coming! For anyone that doesn't know.
It's coming. Yep.
The competitive announcement is like in the next the new season, the new season and the new set. New cards launch in 12 days on the 16th. It's currently the 4th. So we assume that the announcement will come like before that or just after that. But like you want to know what's going on that season, right? What's it qualifying you for? What's happening? They've been a little late on that before, but they've had a bunch of time on this one. I got to imagine, that's going to happen right around that time. And I am so excited for it. So good. Yeah.
I'm really excited for that, and specifically the roadmap that we're going to get.
Very just everything. They've been in the lab for a hot minute. We have not gotten updates since
real hush.
Yeah. We like the last update we got was like June or July. It was July. I'm pretty sure I went back and looked. Like those little videos are like, hey guys, welcome back to Runeterra. Here's like lead designer, whoever, and other lead designer. I should know people's names probably, but you know what I mean? Like, what are those? Literally July. So, like, what is that? 9 months? Bad at math. Was 7, 5, 7? It's like 7 months, something. Whatever. It's a while. It's a long.
That was the last roadmap.
Yeah. And then like the thing about competitive coming to you. That was in like September. We got that announcement. So here's the thing. Riot's not doing nothing. Riot actually moves quite quickly for a large company.
For how big as a company as they are,
fast. They're pretty agile. But they're also very good at like keeping things under lock and key. And let me trust me. Have I ever been like, whenever we talk to the Riot reps, I'm just like, if you want to just, because we're planning stuff here. If I just wanted to know what it's coming up in that announcement in a couple of weeks, because we're planning some tournaments and stuff too. It'd be helpful. No. Okay.
Nope. Nothing.
Nothing.
Yep. You gotta wait. We gotta wait like everybody else.
I want to know.
It's exciting though. It's exciting. Even just hey, we're bringing back Worlds would be like huge for us. And a lot of other people. That's like something to look forward to. I know this sounds stupid. We were talking about this a bit earlier. I would like to actually be involved in the Worlds race this time because I just kind of like cheated my way into it by like top four-ing a seasonal like before the Worlds announcement. So
it was so fun. Like even I missed it by like 2 points or 1 match win or like just a couple spots, a hair. And still I got the worst end of it probably, and still I was like, that was dope. Let's do it again. Run it back, baby. Because it makes seasonals and just it makes climbing the ladder important. It makes seasonals important. It mattered. It had weight to it, and that's what we're missing currently from this ladder, this seasonals. And man, I want to jump back in so badly. I just want to be streaming and making videos and like writing articles and just like crushing tournaments. I just want to play. I just want to play a bunch. And you know what? I feel like I earned it. Freaking, I put on tournaments, made a bunch of content, made a website. Freaking, I'm doing it. I'm jumping back in. I hope, unless the announcement sucks, then I'm like, nope.
then, all right, Bae, teach me how to play Flesh and Blood.
That's right. So that's really exciting. That's coming up. I forget where I was going with that whole thing, but lots of we got a new set coming out. Freaking new cards are gonna start on Monday.
That is not even like registering with me. When seasonals comes out, nothing beyond seasonals is there's like a wall. My brain doesn't go beyond seasonals.
Speaking of which, that's what I wanted to actually talk about. Let's get into lineups. So we've talked about yours a bunch, right? Okay. You're on Ari Kennen, Go Hard, Lee Sin, Zoe, and Pantheon Shyvana locked in. I'm going to go with Ari Kennen, Shurima, Lee Sin, Zoe, which I have played 0 games with this season, and
it's the same deck.
And either
Thresh Viego.
Actually, probably just Thresh Viego. I'll probably just go with Thresh Viego.
That's fun.
Unless I try it and it sucks, and then I'll go Zoe or Acel Thresh. Yeah,
Thresh Acel.
And don't copy me, kids. I'm having a good time out here. But let's run down. There's some lineups I want to talk to you about. Let's start with the one that won our championship. For anyone who doesn't know, our $5,000 championship with 64 players only invite last weekend was won by Ari Kennen, Go Hard, Pirates, Spiders. And the plan of the deck was ban Ari Kennen and
no, it's beat Ari Kennen. It just banned it
in
once.
The finals.
I don't know about the finals, but it's like it banned it when it could afford to because it's mostly there to take advantage of Pantheon.
Yeah, and so we saw it absolutely body Pantheon in the finals.
Yeah, no, it smacks Pantheon around. This is a lineup I'm terrified of. Okay, terrified's a bit strong. Not stoked to play against. Very strong lineup because I have to ban Ari Kennen and I have to sneak a game with
because on their side they're going to ban your Lee Sin, right? Yeah, and then they're going to go after Pantheon, which has all three of their decks have solid matchups against Pirates maybe, and then also against your Ari Kennen they have either the Mirror or Spiders, which is supposed to be good, or Pirates, which is supposed to be solid into you. And a lot of people are going to be bringing Ari Kennen, Pantheon, X, and so this is a lineup that's makes a lot of sense. It's also relatively easy to play if you've already got the AK chops. Throw in some aggro decks. Let's be real, anyone can play aggro. It's so easy. It's not. Put some time in. I'm joking.
The problem with the lineup, because that's fantastic, right? I'm scared of it. A lot of people are going to be scared of it. Yeah, no, Pirates is not a very good deck. The big problem with the lineup is if your opponents bring whale piles, you just lose, and there's not really anything you can do about it. If your opponent brings Darkness FTR or something, you're just 75-25, both times. And that people are gonna bring that. People like to beat aggro.
Yes.
And Darkness specifically is a problem.
The one time I brought discard aggro as my third deck, and I just ran into this. I'm just gonna say a terrible lineup, but it was just all anti-aggro. Just all. I was just I looked at the lineup and I was like, I can't win.
Just lose. Yeah,
I can't beat this. Mm-hmm. It's just ridiculous. And I smashed them with my one real deck, and then just got clobbered with my the other two. Yeah, and that's just how it is. And people are gonna do well with aggro, and people are gonna do well with anti-aggro because there's just enough people bringing it that some people are gonna rise to the top. And you got. This is what people talk about getting lucky in tournaments because you got to dodge some landmines up in there. So that's a legit case of a reason not to bring it, right? Also, as a very good player, you don't want to just be I hope you're bringing the lineup I'm good into and not the other one.
Yeah, if I'm so favored against the field, why would I bring something that I can auto lose with? There's just
okay. Let's talk about now the lineups bringing Darkness. What are the popular Darkness lineups looking like?
I mean, in my scrim circles, it takes the slot of Pantheon. It's AK Lee Darkness.
Ooh, I kind of like that.
Big AK Darkness. No, it's good. You can play it. It's totally fine. And the Darkness is like tech to not be super soft to Pantheon. Often with things like 2 stress defense, possibly Ruination, multiple 6 mana removal spells. I almost brought this.
So talk to me about it, 'cause I'm interested.
Okay. It's very strong. It's very strong. It's probably, I was going to say the strongest lineup, but I still think Pantheon in that spot's like the strongest lineup. But you're way better.
Real quick caveat, if Pantheon's getting targeted real hard, like we're talking about, like sidestepping,
Darkness is way better. Also, if you're expecting a lot of Lee, like Darkness is where it's at. The problem, you're making a trade-off. You're better against burn aggro. You're worse against Demacia. Pantheon doo-doos on the Demacia decks. I feel comfortable.
And there are a lot of Demacia decks
the mirror. Right, there's a lot. There's Scouts. There's Sivir Akshan. There's the other Pantheon decks. There's Lux.
And
right?
How bad is it for Darkness into these decks?
Scouts is pretty bad. You can beat Sivir. You can beat Pantheon, but it's not good for you. And so, yeah, it's a trade-off. You're better into Lee, and you're better into these burn decks. You are worse into Demacia decks. And I do believe that Pantheon is one of the best decks against nonsense. What I mean by nonsense is like not like meta decks, right? A collection of cards.
There's a lot
like
of cute decks
Pantheon,
out there.
I'm probably going to beat you. Yeah. I mean, I put things like Echo Zillion kind of decks, right? Where they're cute decks. People are going to bring them. And I think Pantheon just like smacks
a bunch of different landmarks.
It's just nonsense. Like check these stats, bro, and then punches you in the mouth.
I really like having decks that have like I don't know, an aggressive slant, or like have an ability to be like, I don't know what the hell you're doing, but I'm just gonna punch you in the face really hard. And like,
I don't care. Yeah, exactly.
Instead of something like, I don't know.
Proactive.
Yeah, those decks are kind of like durdling around, like, and like hoping that their stuff like Thresh Soul, I don't know, perhaps just hoping they have the right answers at the right time. Yeah.
What's that? There's like a saying that we used to use for Magic all the time for that exact phenomenon. It was like, there's no wrong questions, or there's no wrong threats. There's only wrong answers. So like, as long as you're as long as you have a proactive game plan, you come out ahead of a lot of these reactive decks. If they're reacting wrong, right? They draw all the counter spells against your deck that doesn't care. They're going to lose. They draw all the kill spells against your, proactive combo deck, right? They're going to lose. And yeah, so I'm with you, especially in like these open rounds. I want to have a proactive game plan that's strong. I want to be strong into random stuff. And then if I run into the matchups that are bad, because I will, you always do, then I need to count on my skill to carry me, to lessen the gap there.
So it seems like none of our team is on the Darkness lineup. What about
No. I've been the big Darkness player in the team.
Yeah. What about like Darkness and then like other control decks like Field of Rush or?
Yeah, you can totally do those. You are soft to Demacia. That's a ban Pantheon lineup. Or sorry, you want to ban Ari Kennen, but you are soft to Pantheon.
Gotcha.
Like it exists, and then the third deck would be either Ari Kennen or like Kindred Sentinels or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I expect to see Darkness, Kindred Sentinels, FTR tech to beat Ari Kennen and then lose to Ari Kennen. Like when I was saying, like, I expect 2 people to leave it up, that's going to be one of them, and the other one's going to be like Burn, and I might lose to Burn. But like if you show up with 3 control decks and you try to beat my Ari Kennen, I'm going to smash you.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah,
I think you could beat the Absolver version. I think those decks can beat the Absolver version.
Yeah.
Because you can just run them out of units eventually. You can literally just kill all their units. It's like, it doesn't matter.
And they're like, oh no, but yeah, I don't need the units, right? I can just pack your bags 4 times.
You also just you don't deck out, which is another. I've had that happen.
I never run out of cards.
They killed all my guys, and I just couldn't kill them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. What about there's a lot of different lineups. So speaking of like,
there's a lot. The big decks we haven't talked about is your
right. Yes, that was the last episode. I was there's one more deck. I can't remember. That was the exact one. Yeah, so it's crushing on the stats. It like looks like it beats all kinds of things that we want to beat. But whenever I play it, I can't beat anything. I feel like I lose to everything. I go guy, they go guy, I go guy, they go guy. I go like pump up my team, they go like counter that or kill your team or like chump block everything and put a bunch of new guys down. I just don't seem to get them.
Yeah.
What's taught to me? What's the deal with this deck?
Well, what you do is pretty like degenerate. Like you can't play fair because you're gonna lose. So yeah, you have to have like these degenerate game plans. The only way you can play fair and win is like Yordle Captain, I suppose. But the problem I had with that deck is like I just didn't feel like I had a ton of agency. I did my thing, and like you said, they either like if they have Withering Wail and you didn't draw Yordle Captain, you just never win. You just never win the game. And I don't know. I don't like playing it. I don't want to lose to random whale piles because all of a sudden people bring those triple control lineups or even double control lineups, right? And I'm running Yordle in arms as well. This sucks for me. This is bad. And I don't want that. I want to be basically as close to 50-50 against the entire field as physically possible.
Yeah. You don't ever want to be like a huge dog.
I don't want to be a dog to anything.
Yeah, it's tough to do.
I don't need a bunch of 80-20s, right? I don't need them. What I want is 50-50s, 60-40s, and 40-60s, where I can flex my skill and try to get there based on that, right? In the top 32, that changes. Sorry to keep cutting you off. In the top 32, that kind of shifts because I no longer have that massive edge, right? I still believe myself to have an edge, but not a huge one. And so I have to rely on the strength of a well metagamed lineup, right? I need to take advantage of my opponent's problems in their lineup to find a bigger edge.
Exactly. Does this change at all if you have to go 8-1 or 9-0? Because this is something that people in Magic and Runeterra also talk about. Like for some reason,
they talk about this a lot.
Back in the day when you had to go 5-0 to make top 32, you couldn't afford a loss. People,
you can't play Jund.
Yeah. You can't just flip a bunch of
Jund
coins.
If you needed. You
gotta go high variance.
Jund, yeah,
high variance.
Yeah, you got, and that's not true.
It's really not
like at all. I don't know why people think.
I can see it. It's like it's a misunderstanding of like stats. It's similar to like, here's a good one. So many things that we take for granted. Do you remember getting into poker? And so everyone at home, imagine you're playing poker. You're getting 2 cards. It's Texas Hold'em. You haven't been dealt aces in a million hands. Are you more likely to get dealt aces on the 1,000,001th hand? Because like
than any of the others?
No, just like, no, it's been a million hands. You haven't seen one. Are you now like, now is it more likely because you haven't seen it in a million hands? And the answer is no. Obviously not. But like most people don't understand that. It's the same as like if you flipped a coin and it came up, this is maybe a better example. If you flipped a coin and it came up heads 10 times, is it now more likely to come up tails on the 11th flip? No, it's still 50-50. The other flips do not take effect on the future flips. And so people like misunderstand this and think that it's like really difficult to flip heads 5 times in a row, and it'd be easier to like take a deck that has like 90-10 and 10-90 matchups and like run a field that way. And it's typically not. Typically what will happen is you'll just run into something that's 10-90 and
you run into some 90s and you run into some 10s.
You're done.
Yeah. I think like the misunderstanding stems from you have to hit variance either way. It's just different. Like, so let's say, I'm going to say Burn and Jund because these are the ones I would hear the most. So if you're not familiar with Magic the Gathering, Burn is Burn, duh. Jund is the most mid-range deck to ever exist ever. It's 50-50 against basically everything. Maybe not the case anymore, but that's how it like was always seen. And so people would always tell you can't bring Jund to large tournaments because you need to hit the high end of variance. You need to play something like Burn. Because Burn has a lot of 90-10s, a lot of 80-20s. And so they both even out to about 50%, maybe a little above 50% win rate, right? So like you have to hit the high end of variance either way. With Jund, it's with winning these 50-50s. Like, right? It's with flipping heads. With Burn, it's with hitting your 90-10s. And it averages out to like a little above 50 either way. But people see it differently for some reason. And so I'm not a big fan of going like full exploitive and just hoping to coin flip my way to victory.
Also, if you think you're better than the average player, why would you give up your like your edge from that to like flip coins basically on like a super linear deck that just kind of decides the outcome itself. Like, you know, that's not a good way to be doing things.
Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. And then that's why you see my top 32 strategy change from my open round strategy.
Yeah. So for instance, on that, decks like, I don't know, Poros, Iceborne Legacy decks where you're kind of just like, you know, trying to get those good matchups and just get them. I was really surprised though to see Poros win like a 300 person tournament and with Iceborne Legacy Spiders on the other side of it. Like how do you even explain this?
Yep.
Like I honestly don't even understand. Did they just roll high? Because we didn't the whole season we saw different decks constantly coming to the top.
It's the same thing as before with anything else, right? You have to get lucky to win a tournament, no matter what. And so like maybe they drew more Iceborne Legacies. Maybe they ran into good matchups, right? It's the same thing as like any other deck getting lucky and getting there. It just seems more high rolling.
Yeah, I think. And, what do you think of this? I think this season the lineups and the decks are just much more close together than we've ever seen before. And
I agree. Outside of specifically
exactly. Yeah, whereas previously you would see something like there was decks that were just untargetable, pretty much.
Akshan Silver Demacia back in the day was just like
Aurelia Zir, TLC,
Aphelios,
Thresh Nasus, and so
they were
targetable. Aphelios, Twisted Fate, what's his name? TF Fizz. It's so funny. Like my brain has to like start with them like Twisted Fate. Don't know.
It's TF Twisted Fate.
My brain was like, got it. You know, you would throw two of these decks together and like you would just go crush people. And there was like not a whole lot, especially in a 1,000-person tournament. You just like it was too hard to meta against them. Whereas now that's not like the case as much because you could stomp Pantheon if everyone's bringing AK Pantheon X. Like you could bring lots of lineups. They'll stomp on Pantheon or Pantheon and X if everyone has the same X deck, and thus the meta is not like so stale. And I think it's just very wide open because of that. Because now you get this churn of like, Arikennen Pantheon is the thing. It's like, oh, I could beat that. Boop, here you go. And it's like, you know, maybe it's with the aggro lineup, right? It's like, oh, now like everyone's playing aggro and that's like crushing on Pantheon. Oh, I can crush it with all these different lineups. And like you just have everyone on these different levels. And so when you bring them all together, like different things in a single tournament are going to be what like bubbles to the top and wins. And it's kind of cool. That makes for like a really good format, a wide open format where you can play lots of stuff. And I'm pretty excited for it, actually. I went from like really not. I went to like fun. From not wanting to play to be like, I'm just going to have a good time, play some 3 decks that I enjoy. Just like, we're going to have some interesting matches here. You're going to be playing your decks against like all kinds of stuff. You're probably going to, you're ban Arikennen a bunch, and you're going to play against a smorgasbord of decks. There's going to be lots of people that don't even bring Arikennen. Be interesting to see what that number ends up at, too, because I bet that's pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, I am excited about it. Anything else you want to cover before we wrap up?
I think that's it. Tell me what deck you think I should play down in the comments. Also, starting, I said previously that we were going to have tournaments this week. We wanted to. We didn't get them happening, mostly from just a technical standpoint. The different platforms that we're trying to work with, none of them quite had all the things that we needed quite fast enough. But we are looking for, after the new season starts on the 16th, the following week, the 21st, we're going to start trying to have daily tournaments. I'll give us some time to get all that stuff set up. So watch out for those. Also, apologies that we didn't get it done this week. We tried, was not our fault. Developer things, you know how it is. I think that's it. Other than that, like, good luck everyone in seasonals. You got any closing remarks for the people?
Not really. I'm gonna be streaming it. Are you gonna be streaming?
I guess so. Yeah, I just do the no cam, stream my gameplay.
You do the no cam.
Yeah, I could just like go about my life. Typically, I gotta stop.
Yeah. I gotta do the full cam because it's good YouTube
stop
content.
7-1 and then losing, because that's literally the worst way to freaking do it. Because then I'm stuck in front of my computer all day and I don't make top 32. Like at least just 0-2 and like I